And this one is a competitive worker placement exploration strategy game that is based on the Chinese explorer with the same name. The game plays over 7 rounds where players are competing to try and have the most victory points at the end of the game, and you're going to be doing that by exploring the different seas, gathering resources and rare animals from different islands and locations, and you're going to be using a polyomino system to fit all those animals into your ship, but then you're also going to be fighting any pirates that you meet along the way and trying to build up your diplomacy with the surrounding areas. Most of the players' actions are going to be taking place at the different ports along the main map, but there are a few other boards that are used in this game depending on which phase you're currently in the round. And the first phase does use a different board because you're going to have a diplomacy board which is full of a bunch of different official cards that are all randomly assigned at the start of the game, and they all have different powers and resources that they can grant you. And in the first phase, players are going to be placing their offering token onto one of those cards. The officials that are higher up on the tableau are also considered higher ranking officials, and these are normally more costly to use, but these will also push you up in the turn order for the following phase. This phase also uses a board that I don't have an image of, but it's just going to have 6 cards face down on it, and players are going to be taking turns placing one of their ship tokens onto one of those 6 different route cards. The cards further to the right do represent further distances traveled, and those can come with additional benefits, but the leftmost card is the one that's going to be going first. So whoever chose the leftmost card, you're going to be revealing that card, and then that card's going to dictate the number of ships that you get to place, which I'll come back to in a second here, but also any special effects that are going to come into play, like putting pirates out onto specific ports. And this is where things get really interesting because the number of ships that you get to put into play, you're going to be putting onto the main map, and you're going to be starting from your starting location and then putting those ships one by one in adjacent spots until you have placed all your ships. The final ship you place is always going to be your flagship, and you get to take the action of whichever location you put it at, but then all the other players can choose one action from any of the other ships you just placed. If there's ever a pirate at a location where you want to take an action, you can't take that action until you either bribe that pirate first or fight that pirate by spending the appropriate amount of weapon tokens, but that will also gain you additional reputation. Locations can have all sorts of actions that you can take, like either granting you with resources or allowing you to trade in resources for other resources, or they might have the option to pay resources in order to raise your diplomacy or your reputation, or they could grant you with victory points or victory point multipliers for the end of the game. Once you've taken the action at the location of your flagship, you'll then also have the option to build a monument there. And these are really fun because if you choose to do that, you can actually take that same action that you just took over again, and this also has a cascading effect. So if you've previously built monuments in adjacent locations, you'll be able to take those actions as well. This brings you to the end of your turn where you'll be able to take one final action, and for this action you can choose any other ship that you have on the board and then take the action of the port it's located at or any of the ports adjacent to it. The round continues through each of the other players, allowing them to flip up their card, place their ships, and take their flagship action, and any optional actions until each player has had a turn, and that's going to be wrapping up that round. But I did mention a few tracks that you can move up, and as you move up those tracks, those can also grant you instant bonuses as you move over different icons there. And I did mention a polyomino system when you do gain animals, and I also don't have an image of that, but as you gain these animals, you're going to be placing them onto a board with limited spaces, and you're going to gain the benefits of any icons that you cover up. You're also going to be gaining victory points for any spaces that you cover up, and then an additional victory point for any spaces within the largest square that you can create on that board. The next round continues with players choosing a new official and then going through the same action phases again, and then the player with the most victory points at the end of the 7 rounds wins the game, and if you do want to check this one out, I will have it linked down below.